Thanks for joining us for today's webinar, Same Game, New Rules. I love the byline of the webinar, how to squeeze 20% more sales out of your existing leads. Frankly, with what I saw content-wise, that 20% is going to be a little bit on the conservative side. So listen, my name is Tim Mush, Director of Business Development here at Paradigm Bendel. We're excited to have a good friend of mine. I'll get you a little more information on Rich in a second. But we have Rich Harshaw with us to talk about some very important things as it relates to lead conversion. So let's talk agenda. We go to the next slide, you're going to see really what we got cooked up for the webinar here today. And first off, a little bit of intro information to set the stage. Then a couple ideas on the industry itself, what's going on, some upcoming events, things such as that. And then we're going to do something that I've done for the past few years, is share some information with you on what we like to call the marketing conversion funnel. And we're going to share some industry metrics that you can benchmark yourself on in terms of what conversion rates are throughout the funnel. And I think it's really going to set the stage very nicely for the content we're presenting. So Rich, if you can go back to the agenda, please. Back one slide. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to get into what we call the 9-step conversion engine. Now, a point we want to make about what we're going to talk about here in this 9-step thing and all that is there's way more things and strategies involved in conversion than we have time to talk about here today. So we just picked about 9 things out that we can kind of, get into a little bit of detail on today. But keep in mind, there's a whole lot more other things that we could be talking about and very well may likely be talking about in a future webinar. Then we'll wrap it up with some final thoughts. So on the next slide, I just want to say thanks to all the sponsors for today's event. Our friends at Destination Motivation, Get the Referral, Level 10 Contractor, Qualified Remodeler, who's always a great partner, and of course, our company at Paradigm Bendel. Now, what you're going to see throughout the webinar, periodically with some of the things we're talking about in terms of the strategies, lend themselves very well to some of these sponsors. So I hope you don't mind that we take a little bit of time when we talk about a given strategy that one of these sponsors can really help with, that we give you a little bit of information about what they got to offer. That said, keep in mind, we're going to keep that to a very, very minimum, so we don't spend a lot of time on that and focus primarily on great quality education so you can grow your business in 2025. So the next slide is going to talk about an industry update. And one thing that came up, going to the next slide, is this TCPA compliance update. Most of you are probably aware of what's happened here. We were all waiting for January 27th, a couple days ago, to come, because that's when that law was going to go into effect. And what I'm referring to here is the FCC's one-to-one consent rule, which, without getting into a lot of detail, really kind of threw a wrench into a lot of things many of us were doing and made some things very, very difficult. But the update that I'm sure many of you are aware of is this: it's no longer. So that day came and went by without that law going into effect. They paused it for a year, and then a little while later than that in the day, it was actually struck down by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. So at this point, no longer an issue, but keep in mind, I think we all still want to be in compliance with everything else that's going on as it relates to phone calls, text messages, and things such as that. So just thought we'd do a little bit on update on that for those of you that maybe weren't aware. So going to the next slide, a couple events upcoming you may be interested in. I'm sure many of you are thinking about attending and probably are attending Accelerate Live, one of our industry's best events. It's happening pretty darn soon in Amelia Island, Florida, at a beautiful resort. I was just there a couple months ago, and great speakers. This is one of the best there is. There'll be about 400 to 500 people there you rub shoulders with and get to network with everybody there, which is frankly most of the use or much of the benefit you get from these kind of events. So if you haven't taken a look at this event, go ahead and check it out at www.accelerateevent.com. If you decide to go, you can save $100 by using our sponsor code, which is TECH25. So I look forward to seeing many of you there. I know you will be. Next slide is going to talk about something else, another event, as a matter of fact. And one of our sponsors, Qualified Remodeler, is Fast Remodeler Live. And that's going to be held May 20th and 21st at the Hyatt Regency in Baltimore. And this is version 4 of this event. And this is a technology event for people in the home improvement and remodeling business. And technology is a huge deal right now. So it's really the place to be if you want to get your arms around this. So if you want to learn more about this upcoming event, who's speaking and all that, there's a QR code there. You can go ahead and scan it on your phone and go right to that site and learn more. And you can register if you'd like to join us at Bath Remodeler Live again in Baltimore. Next slide is a recommendation. I'll do this quick, but a good friend of mine and Rich's is Brian Gottlieb. Many of you know Brian. He's been in the industry for many years, built some very successful companies, Tundra Land Home Improvement here in Wisconsin. And he wrote a book recently called Beyond the Hammer. And this is a great book. If any of you are interested in growing your business, go to Amazon, just search for Beyond the Hammer and get this book ordered. You can either get it in book form or in audio form, but this has a bunch of intangibles in it that many of us don't talk about in this business that Brian brings great points to in terms of being successful and everything you need to be to scale your business and grow it. So highly recommended, Beyond the Hammer, Brian Gottlieb. All right. Now we're going to talk about the conversion funnel now for a couple minutes. And what you're seeing on screen now is really what all of us do day in and day out in our business. We do marketing, lead generation, and all that to generate inquiries, right? And then it starts filtering down from there. The first thing that happens is we have to take those inquiries and turn them into appointments. That's typically the way our business works. And then once we get an appointment set, we go through maybe a confirmation process and things like that in some cases. And then a certain amount of those leads get issued to salespeople. And once leads are issued to salespeople, then we want to make sure we track how many are being demoed. And again, we're filtering it down because less leads get demoed than are actually issued, as many of us know. And then from there, from leads demoed, then it filters down into the actual number of net sales that you get. Now, the next slide really has some interesting stuff on it. Because what this is a control group of about 1,147 home improvement companies of all sizes in terms of what these metrics look like last year. And I find this stuff very interesting. We've been tracking these numbers for, I think about 5-6 years now. And this is hot off the press for 2024. And look what's going on here. With this group, the number of inquiries that came in last year, a little over 3 million. And then 51.9% of those actually turn into appointments set. And then continuing down the funnel, 79.3% of those turn into leads issued. And of those, 77.7% turned into leads actually demoed. Then of leads demoed, 34.9%, some people would call this a closing ratio, turned into 342,000 net sales, or 34.9%, with an average sale $11,831. So this is a big cross-section of the industry. It's about $4 billion in installed home improvements. So it's very reliable data. Now, if you're looking at it and saying, my numbers don't look like that, well, it can vary depending on how you're generating leads. If you're getting all your leads from referrals, guess what? Your inquiries to appointment set rate is probably quite a bit higher than that. If all your leads are coming from sweepstakes entries and things like that, 51.9%, might be higher than you're getting. But these are the averages for the industry. But there's a point I want to make about these metrics. And what that is the number on the left. And that is really what we're talking about here today. And I like to call that number the full funnel conversion rate. It's an important metric that, frankly, many companies don't track. A lot of you track the numbers that you're seeing on the right side of the screen. Certainly you're tracking closing ratios and things such as that. But this full funnel conversion rate is a number many people don't track. And you should, because it tells you your whole performance story with conversion. And look, in 2024, with this group, 11.2% of all inquiries turn into installed jobs. Now, there's a point I want to make about that. I mentioned I've been tracking these numbers for about 5-6 years. And guess what? Every single year since I started, this full funnel conversion rate number is going down. We're getting less efficient as an industry. Now, there's a ton of reasons for that, many of which we're going to talk about here today. But this is the number that we're going to impact here today because there's all sorts of various things going on in your processes throughout this funnel that determines, how much business you're actually getting. So that kind of sets the stage for our speaker here today. So going to the next slide, let me say a few words about my good friend Rich. Rich is the founder, author, CEO of Level 1, Level 10 Contractor. That business was founded in 1994 as a general marketing consultant. Now, I met Rich in about 2005. Maybe he'll elaborate on that a little bit when he starts speaking. And he decided to specialize in our industry. And that's been a good thing for us as an industry. He's worked with many and some or many of the biggest and most successful home improvement companies in the industry, some of which you're seeing on the screen, and a whole lot more. So with that, Rich, I want to hand it over to you and let's talk about lead conversion.
All right. Tim, thank you. In fact, it has been 20 years since you called me up and said, hey, let's do, back in those days, it was called a teleseminar, not a webinar, and assembled a group of folks, got on there, and we've been going strong ever since. So 20 years this year. That's amazing. I don't look a day older. I cannot say the same for you. That's a joke. Settle down. All right, let's go. Let's get into this. This is a topic that Tim is really passionate about. I'm really passionate about it too. My company is called Level 10 Contractor. I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we get into this. Just to give you a background on myself, wrote a book you see on the screen called Unlocking Unlimited Lead Flow, specifically for the remodeling and home services industry. Also have a daily podcast going back to 2019. Which means that next month we'll hit 2,000 episodes. That's a lot. I mean, if you have a question about marketing for remodeling companies, you can go to this podcast, look it up. You'll scroll through there. You'll find what you're looking for. So that's kind of what we do. But our company is an agency. Okay. So we're a marketing agency working in this industry. We build websites. We do search engine optimization, also advertising, digital advertising, Google, pay-per-click, also traditional advertising, television, radio. Those are some of the things that my agency does on behalf of companies just like yours. So let's get to this topic, lead conversion engine, how to squeeze 20% more sales out of your existing leads. I think, like Tim said, I think we could actually do better than that. Here's what happened at a recent meeting. I was doing some speaking, which I do quite a bit of, and they were saying, hey, it looks like leads are slowing down. Things that were working are not working as well anymore. And the question was, as usual, how do I get more leads? How do I get more leads? I want more leads. I want more leads. I want more leads. Okay, great. We need more leads. I'm all for more leads. The premise of my entire company is that we help companies generate 200 to 500 quotable leads per month from Google alone using website search, pay-per-click, Google guaranteed, etc. So I'm all about the leads, but also let's squeeze more out of the leads that we already have. So how about it's a both and not an either or? We don't want to just only focus on this, but we do want to definitely look at this topic of getting more out of the leads that we have. Here's how most companies think: generate some leads and then go close those leads, and then generate some more leads and then go close those leads. And then they just rinse and repeat. And this topic that we're talking about, it's kind of dirty work. People just don't like to focus on it that much. I'm going to show you how to get more leads out of your sales. 3 things to do before the sales meeting. By the way, these are going to kind of blow you away. They're not what you expect. So pay close attention. 5 things that affect the sales meeting, and then 1 thing to do after the sales meeting that are going to affect. Like Tim said, we're not necessarily covering the 9 things to do. These are 9 of potentially as many as 15 different things that we just don't have time to cover everything. So we've chosen these 9. Okay. Like I said, it's a dirty job. Getting more bang for your buck. Somebody's got to do this. I'm going to really strongly recommend that you assign somebody within your company to really focus in on these things that we're talking about. With that said, let's go to number 1, which is called integrating an identity into all of your advertising and marketing efforts. Now, let's think about it like this. Let's say somebody said, I want to go run a marathon. And they said, okay, I want to maximize how fast I run the marathon. So they start trying to optimize all the little pieces and parts of running the marathon. They're like, hey, what shoes should I wear that are going to give me the best performance and maybe even socks, and what clothes should I wear? What nutrition should I use leading up to and during the marathon? Should I use the little gels? Should I use AG1? What should I use for nutrition? What about technology? Should I get a certain kind of watch that's going to give me splits? And all of these things that people want to do to optimize and maximize their performance, and rightfully so. However, the first three strategies before you actually get into the sales meeting, the marathon in the analogy, okay, so it's an analogy here. It's like, hey, guess what? You need to lose 50 pounds before you go and run that marathon, because anything you do with the watch and the technology and the shoes and the nutrition on the day of the race, none of that's going to matter that much if you go into the race 50 pounds overweight. So these are things to do before you ever get there. And in the case, so we're switching back now from the analogy of running the marathon and the technology and all that to conversion. There's things that you can do before you ever even meet the prospect that are going to significantly affect how well you are able to not only book the meeting, but also show up and actually sit with the people that you had leads from. And then also, of course, closing them. So identity. Here's what I found. I've been doing this for 30 years, 20 in this industry, thanks to Tim. Most marketing is full of platitudes, which is this. It's words or phrases that are drearily commonplace. They're predictable. They lack power to evoke interest through overuse and repetition. They're stated as if they're original or significant. Hey, we've got the best products, the best service, family owned, like it says here, we've been in business since 1431 BC. These are the kinds of things that people are saying in their marketing, their advertising, also importantly on their website. So when somebody is searching Google, let's say, and they go to your website, if you've done your SEO well, unlikely, but if you've done it well, they show up on your website and they see all this sort of expected, I was going to use the word nonsense, that's too strong, but it's platitudinal words that don't really move the needle. Or in advertising and marketing, we also see a lot of prices and offers. Prices, they're going to be things like buy one, get one free, 40% off the second window, 0% financing. I'm not saying that these things are wrong or bad and that you shouldn't use them, but if all you ever do in your advertising all the time is talk about the offer, then what you're really doing is training the marketplace to buy from you because you're cheaper. And the likelihood that you're actually cheaper is very, very low. Why? Because most of the companies that I work with, they're higher end companies. They tend to be a little bit higher on the quality and customer service and all those kinds of things. And they tend to be in the top quartile, let's say, of price. And if you're advertising cheap and then you show up and you're not cheap, you've got a huge disconnect. Boom, closing ratios are going to suffer. You think, well, no, we're good at closing and we do that. Okay, great. Look, I'm not telling you how to run your business. I'm just letting you know that if you have heavily emphasized and leaned into pricing, advertising, offers, then you're creating a disconnect that is going to cause problems in your closing ratio. Okay. You're training to buy them because you're cheaper and you're not. So that's a problem. So what I'm going to do with this idea of identity is show you how to position yourself in the marketplace as a higher end, worth it company, so that when you show up, there's a consistency there and people know who you are and how you're different and why you're better and what they can expect, and they're ready to pay. That's what I'm talking about. Again, it's lose the 50 pounds before you ever show up on race day for the marathon, and then everything is going to go better once you're there. That's what I'm talking about here. Okay. So here's the definition of identity. And I would encourage you, if you're the kind of person that likes to take notes, to pull your phone out right now and take a picture of this so you can look at it later, because this is really, really important. Words, phrases, and images that are articulated with power, precision, and passion that instantly, definitively communicate who you are, how you're different, why you're better. It's not on there, but why you're better, and what customers can expect when doing business with you. This is going to be the polar opposite of the platitude, right? Makes sense? Okay. So what you want to do is tell your story. There's certain things that you do in your company really, really well. There's reasons that your customers love you. The key is you need to identify what those things are and then articulate them in a way that allows them to come alive. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples here in just a minute, but this is the process. All right. You have to help prospects visualize your advantages. You have to find your story and then tell your story. Okay. So this is a graphic I'm going to put on the screen. I'm going to just put all of these on there. This is what I call the 5 pillars of identity. So here's the idea. These are 5 categories of things that you may excel at in your company. The DNA of your company might be built on these things: your products, your workmanship, your bedside manner, your core values, your culture, and your reputation. So for instance, if you're a window company, you might have what you consider to be a vastly superior and different window. It might be stronger, it might be more energy efficient, it might look better, more colors, etc. You can see the list there on the screen. On the other hand, if you're a kitchen remodeling company, the products, you're probably looking more at a workmanship type of an issue that you want to focus and lean into. Also, all companies, regardless of what you're selling, bedside manner, how you treat the customer, the communication. Do you have easy and accurate quotes? Is there a lot of sales pressure or not? Do you clean up after yourselves? The worker appearance, hiring standards. Again, you can see this on the screen. The fourth category is going to be core values: integrity, respect, compassion, and so forth. These are things that you want to bring out and talk about in your marketing, in your advertising, on your website, when you're opening your mouth to the prospects out there who are looking at buying what you sell. And then the fifth category is going to be culture and reputation, which honestly is sort of a depository for everything that doesn't conveniently fit into the other four pillars. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to identify 3 from each of these pillars, and then find stories, examples, and comparisons that you can now put into your marketing. So again, the idea here on a macro level is that if you can communicate with power, precision, and passion who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what people can expect when they do business with you, then number one, you're going to drive more qualified leads to you because people want to do business with companies that are like you. Meanwhile, your competitors are over there communicating with either platitudes or prices. And so now you look, comparatively speaking, better. Then when you actually show up with your salesperson, they already have a very good idea, again, of who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what they can expect when they do business with you. So your conversion ratios, topic of today's webinar, are going to go up. I've seen this happen over and over and over again. Also, your net sales per your sales per qualified lead are also going to go up. You're going to sell for more dollars and at a higher closing ratio. That's the idea. Okay. So let me give you an example. This would be a radio ad, and the script is here. I'll just read it to you so you can kind of get a feel for it. This is telling the story, and the identity point here is going to be quality of materials. Now I'm going to go backwards on this, and you can see right here under bedside manner, under workmanship, we've got a point here, quality materials. See that? Now, this is how it looks in real life. One of the most common questions we get about kitchen and bathroom remodeling is, how much does it cost? But the question you should be asking is, how much does it weigh? How much does it weigh? Actually, you can tell a lot about the quality of a kitchen or bathroom by how much the faucet weighs. At Jericho, we only use high quality Moen faucets. They weigh about 10 pounds each. They're solid metal, they look fantastic, and they'll last forever. Other remodelers save money by using off-brand plastic faucets that only weigh about 1.5 pounds. 10 pounds versus 1.5 pounds. If you want a remodeling job that weighs right, call Jericho. Now, again, I want you to understand what's happening here. We are now talking about quality of materials without saying, let me give you a contrasting way to say this. Hey, if you want high quality remodeling, call Jericho. We only use the highest quality materials. Call us and we'll do a great job. It'll look great forever. People are going to hear that and it's going to go right over their head because they would expect you to say things. But when you start talking about something that's super familiar, like the weight of the faucet, something they'd never even considered before, it's a completely new concept to them, but it's easy and very immediately something that they can understand. And they hear that and they go, yeah, that is the kind of company I want to do business with. Now, if you're trying to get the lowest quality, cheaper type prospects, this is an ad that wouldn't work for you. Why? Because every single company's identity is going to be different and unique to whatever it is that you do. That's why we have all of these pillars of identity that you can choose from. And then you identify whichever 3 make sense for you, and then you lean into those, okay? Give you another example. It's called deposit hopping. I'm using radio ads just because they're easy to demonstrate on a webinar. Thinking about a new deck a roof or siding, then you need to know about deposit hopping. Nick from Hutchinson Construction here, and here's how it works. Most contractors require a 50% deposit when you sign the contract upfront on the spot, which they use to pay for labor and materials for other jobs that they've already started working on. When it comes time to start your project later, they try to collect another big deposit from somebody else to pay for the labor and materials on your job. It's called deposit hopping, and it puts you at risk because they're flying by the seat of their financial pants. At Hutchinson, we never ask for a deposit. You never pay anything until the first day of the job after the materials have been delivered to your property and the crew is on site ready to start. Okay, now, two things I want you to understand about this. Number one, maybe you're a company that requires deposits and you're looking at this and going, well, that's dumb. I don't want to say that. I know. I'm going to go back 2 slides again. These are the identity points. There's about 60 of them. You need to find the ones that you can lean into. If you don't ask for a deposit, that's a great thing to talk about. If you do ask for deposits, that would be a really dumb thing to talk about. You might want to lean into other identity points. Okay, so don't get twisted on this that, oh, this guy doesn't want me to take deposits. I don't care if you take a deposit or not. I'm just saying if you don't take deposits, what a great thing to lean into, because point number 2 is look at the story that we're telling, and we're helping people understand things that they don't know and they wouldn't normally know. And now we become a more obvious choice because we're helping people understand how to make the decision. Last example, sales gangster. Need a quote on siding, roof, for your windows? Beware of the sales gangster. Sales gangsters, the high pressure muscles companies send to your home. Their goal, to twist your arm until you say yes. Solid State Construction to the rescue. We can't stand sales gangsters. We have project consultants. They're friendly, respectful, and help you achieve your dream. Skip the sales gangsters. Call Solid State for siding, roofing, and windows and more. Okay, so there's 3 examples. Okay, now let's talk about integrating the identity into your website. This is really, really critical. Here's why. Maybe you don't run radio. Fantastic. Doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing is a good place to integrate identity. But I do know this. Every company has a website. And if you're not separating yourself from your competition by using identity in your website, you're missing a major opportunity. Okay. So this is a company called Sugarman's Bath. And I want you to see right here. This is a screenshot, by the way. It says why us. And then these are the identity points under why us. And I'm going to go to Precision Workmanship just to give you an example. So this is the Precision Workmanship page. You can see right there. And this is what it says. San Diego's wet area only bathroom specialist with painstaking, precise workmanship. Our premium materials, systems, and fixtures are reinforced with a rock-solid commitment to every fine detail. Now, here's what I want you to notice. Go back. I told you to take a picture of it. Remember, here's the definition of identity. Communicating with power, precision, and passion. Who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what companies can expect when they do business with you. That's what we're doing here. And so I won't read all of this for you. By the way, you're welcome to go to sugarmansbath.com and just take a look for yourself. There's other examples I could give you, but this is the one that we happen to have on the screen right now. And as you scroll down, here's what you're also going to see. So we've got additional information. We don't cut corners. We address them. Here's how. And then these are all clickable. I can't click on them now because it's a screenshot, but you could see that this is giving additional information to help people make the best choice. Then you get down here to a service area page. Okay, this is a page that's designed to drive traffic to the website. This is an important part of your SEO strategy. And here's what you'll see. As you scroll down, we've got links to the identity pages, customer first, core values. And then over on this page, this is just scrolling down, best materials. That's going to go to that page. It's going to describe that. And then we've got precision workmanship here, stellar reputation. These are all elements of identity that we're linking to. Number one, Google loves this, but also number 2, this is how people come to your page. So we've set this page up properly to drive traffic from Google. But now, since the content is so interesting, engaging, and relevant, and people can click through and dig around in the website, this is giving a strong signal to Google that this is a great page that they're going to want to continue to show. Your rankings are going to go up and people are going to call and become prospects. Okay. So just show you this real quick. We do a website audit for people that are interested in finding out about how their website can perform better. It's called the Level 10 Site Audit. And we rank things on 4 different elements, putting troops in the battle, signals, engagement. The overall score you'll see here is 25. That's out of 100, by the way. If you've got 100, if you got a 25 out of 100, that's not good. And you'll see right here, one of the things we look at is identity and engagement on the website. You can see this particular person here, they scored 13 out of 30, only 36 out of 100 on engagement. Lots of room for improvement. The average score that we see is 27. I'm going to give you an opportunity right now. If you'll take your phone out and just hold it up and do the, what do you call it? The QR thing here. It'll ask you to sign up for a time, and we will audit your website, and then we'll meet with you to go over it. The premise of our company is that we help companies generate 20 to 500 quotable leads per month from Google alone. That's based on the website, like I just talked about, the SEO, I also just talked about briefly, also Google Guaranteed and Google Pay-Per-Click. If you're getting 20 to 500 leads a month, on the low end of that, that's enough to generate $1 million a month in revenue, just based on Google. Most companies aren't doing it. Their websites are not properly optimized. So I'm encouraging you, fill out the form, go to the free website audit. You can also find it at level10audit.com. And that will start that process. Okay, let's go to strategy number 2. Handle the phone better. Okay, handle the phone better. Answer your dang phone. Everyone thinks that they're great at answering the inbound phone calls. And guess what? 25% or more in our experience with companies we worked with, they're not answered at all. They're just not answered. They just go to voicemail. They go to, whatever. They just aren't picked up. That's horrific. Most people see that stat and they go, well, that's not true for us. And then we start listening to their calls. If we do, say, a pay-per-click campaign, we can record those calls. If we generate traffic through SEO, we can record and listen to those calls. And it is embarrassingly, horrifically bad how bad this is handled. So calls are not answered, or they're handled poorly. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to listen to your inbound calls. You will be shocked. Be prepared. Don't go into it thinking, oh, we're great, we're going to ace this. Go into it critically thinking, okay, where can we improve? And when you listen with that ear, you will find it. Hire an overflow and or an after hours call center. If you do not have this, it's a massive problem. You are losing business. You're generating calls, you're generating these leads inbound, and you're losing them because you're not handling the calls properly. You can work with companies like Tony Hody Training. They've got call center evaluations. They can help you with this. This is something that you need to get your handle on right away, okay? You also want to audit your speed to lead for lead form callbacks. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I've done entire webinars on this. Tim is very, very gung-ho about this topic, but your speed to lead is obviously very important. I'm going to leave that right there, okay? You can use technology to speed things up using programs like Structurally that will automatically, call back, text back, send emails, all of these things. If you're not using technology to speed up your speed to lead, that's a fumble. There's just no excuse for that in 2025. Okay. So inbound lead call. Let's talk about this. This is really important. After taking general information on the lead, then I'm going to circle back to identity. We can ask them, if you had a chance to look on our website, one thing that we're known for is, and then you can give them the identity point. I recommend giving them 2 nuggets, 2 identity points. You've got time. It's going to take longer than your normal appointment set call, but it's going to make the appointment stick better. Again, we're talking about conversion today, and it's going to make them convert better. So give them 2 nuggets, no pressure sales, and then whatever your main thing is. Now, no pressure sales, I'm going to recommend a script that goes kind of like this. You can copy this. You'll get the replay of this webinar. You can jot this down. Person calls in, you get all their information, then you say this: hey, I want you to know that we're committed to no pressure sales. Some companies send their salespeople to week-long sales boot camps. They are taught persuasion and compliance tactics to get you to commit, and will stubbornly sit on your couch for 2 hours until you say yes. Okay? We don't do that. Our entire visit only takes about 45 minutes to an hour, or whatever it is. We're going to ask you some questions to find out what you need, show you some options, answer your questions, and then step back and let you decide. If you end up doing business with us, great. We'd be honored. Of course, if for any reason you decide not to move forward, we'll part as friends. Fair enough. Okay. Putting this dialogue in the appointment set is going to massively make a difference. Your salesperson is going to be treated like a welcome friend instead of an annoying pest or like a necessary evil. Then, example for your other identity point. This is an example. Hey, another thing, are you aware of our deposit policy? No. What's that? Well, most tech companies require a deposit. It varies, but it averages 30 to 50%, which means you could be writing a check for thousands of dollars weeks before they even schedule your installation. It's called deposit hopping. In many cases, they're using your deposit. Okay. I don't even have to read this. You heard me say this on the radio commercial. Same thing. We're a financially stable company. We don't collect any deposits. You don't pay a nickel, a nickerel. I don't know why it's got a typo there, until the day the job starts and the materials for your deck have already been delivered to your home. Okay, so I'm encouraging you to literally go through these scripts when you're setting the appointment. Wow, but Rich, that's going to take longer. I know it's a dirty job to make your conversion ratio go up. I'm encouraging you to take the time to do this. Well, we might have to hire more people to handle the calls. I know, and you need to do it because it's going to make a big difference. Okay. Let's continue. Strategy number 3, and then we'll get to the actual in-the-house sales appointments. In the pre-sales call communications, I'm going to strongly encourage you to use text messages. And this is going to be a little bit radical. Are you ready for this? Radically, I'm going to tell you to send 3 or 4 text messages per day between the appointment set and the actual appointment. Space them out by 2 to 3 hours. That's going to be annoying, Rich. No, it's not going to be annoying unless you send annoying, irrelevant junk. Okay. If the content is engaging and relevant, then it will not be annoying. It will actually be, check this out, helpful, identity-based information, links to videos, link to blog posts on your website, social proof, customer videos, galleries, online reviews, product information. It could be price guides, style guides, comparisons, things like that. So if you set an appointment on Monday at 11 a.m. for Wednesday at 7 p.m., so you got a little over 2 days, that prospect should be getting at least 6 text messages from you before they show up. This is a little bit controversial. I know, I'm hearing you. It's going to annoy people. They're going to get mad. They will not get mad if you send the right kinds of things. And if you do, it's going to massively increase not only your show up and sit rates, but also your closing rates. So we might send this out. Anatomy of a Solid State Project Consultant. Hey, it's Josh from Solid State. Looking forward to our appointment Thursday, January 14th at 1 p.m. Here's what to expect from me as your product consultant. That's a text message. I'll show you what it links to in just a minute. Here's a couple of other examples. You can get an idea. The one in the middle is talking about insurance issues. The one on the right is talking about one of their core values, which is integrity. And it links to a blog post that talks about a time when they messed up and they made it right. You say, wow, why would I want to admit that I messed up? Because it engenders confidence. Okay, so if they click on this here, Anatomy of a Solid State Project Consultant, I wonder what that's all about. They come to this web page, blog on your website, and it talks about what a sales gangster is. If they continue to scroll, it talks about what they do. And this puts their mind at ease. Remember, I asked you to do this on the call when people call in. Now we're sending the text. We also can send texts about other identity points, also customer testimonials, online reviews, etc. Okay. Let's get into strategy number 4. Now we're in the home, utilizing a digital step selling presentation methodology. And for this, I want to turn it over to Tim. This is really his forte. So Tim, if you can jump on here and take the reins.
Yeah, we'll give you a little break here. You're talking, how many words a minute do you do, Rich?
185.
How many can you type a minute?
40.
All right. Yeah, so let's talk about step selling. And I think everybody on the call really knows what we're talking about with step selling. If not, let's try to define it. Step selling system is a structured and sequential approach to the sales process that guides sales representatives through specific stages to achieve, and here's a big word here, a predictable, successful outcome. Each step is designed to build trust, uncover customer needs, present solutions based on those needs, handle objections, and close the sale in a logical and customer-focused manner. And I love what we have on the right there, because we don't have time to get into this particular part of the presentation much today. But what we're talking about here is making sure your salespeople are using a very organized selling system in the home to make sure they're touching all the bases appropriately. And years ago, I listened to a bunch of back then cassette tapes from an individual named Zig Ziglar. Many of you maybe have heard of Zig. He passed away a few years ago. But I'll never forget one thing he said in one of those tapes. It's never left me. He said there's really only 5 obstacles to the sale. If you overcome these things, you're probably going to get a sale. And here's what they are. He says, you got to overcome no need, no desire, no money, no hurry, or no trust. And when you're thinking about crafting your presentation, make sure you are hitting every single one of those obstacles in one way, shape, or form. And what I see out there, I see a lot of people doing presentations, for example, that skip the no need part. They don't do a needs analysis. They get into the home and within 30 seconds, they got a window sample out on the kitchen table talking about special glass or whatever the case may be. So important to make sure to keep in mind no need, no desire, no money, no hurry, and no trust, and craft your presentation about that. So let's go on. Let's talk about, something else that's important. I decided to ask Chat GPT, what consumers expect from home improvement companies in 2025, in addition to a presentation that handles those basic obstacles. Here's what it said. It said, number one, a digital experience. Customers may expect home improvement companies to use digital tools that help them plan their projects. This involves experiences that allow customers to actively participate in evaluating and making product and vendor selections. Then they went on, her ChatGPT went on and said, also looking for personalized solutions. And technology makes that possible. Personalization is a key trend in various industries, home improvement, no exception. Consumers may expect companies to offer personalized recommendations based on their preferences, budget, and the specific requirements of their home improvement project they're considering. So, two important things that I think we need to keep in mind when we craft our presentation and also how we deliver our presentation. What people aren't looking for nowadays is a 6-inch wide pitch book of unorganized sheets and papers and price lists and all that kind of stuff to tell the story. My gosh, people are used to buying things on Amazon. Why don't we give them a similar experience in the home with a digital solution that they can participate in and see their project come to life right in front of their eyes? So going to the next slide really points out this step selling concept here. This is a screenshot of Paradigm Bendel, and it follows a step selling system. Now, keep in mind, if you're using one of the sales trainers in the industry, like Dave Yoho Associates, Grosso University, John Anglis, Chuck Toki, or any of those folks, all those guys have their step selling system. It might be 7 steps, 8 steps, 10 steps, whatever they may be. What's really neat about this tool is this adapts to all those steps. You can rename these things. As you can see here, it begins with a needs assessment, inspection and measure, about our solutions based on what we uncovered in the needs assessment, sitting down with them in the product selection step and actually seeing their project come to life, and then having this thing actually quote the price in a manner where it's very believable. So going to the next slide gives you a little bit of visualization how that happens. You can quote up to 5 packages just like that with one mouse click. If you do package pricing, it's got fully integrated financing, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, which makes it very smooth in terms of how it comes across to the homeowner. Then we have this concept we call a guided shopping experience. And what happens is you sit down with them and say, let's take a look at your windows. Let's go ahead and design your windows. What do you want your grids to look like? And you participate with the homeowner, and all this stuff comes to life right in front of their eyes. And then it goes and builds a contract, and you're done. So digital sales enablement tools is really what it's all about. So going to the next slide gives you an opportunity to learn more if you'd like to. Go ahead and scan this QR code. We'll also put up a poll if you'd like to learn more about Paradigm Bendel. I really suggest you take the time and spend 45 minutes with us and show us how this step selling system can really do a great job for your business. So with that, we'll leave the poll up for a couple seconds, but Rich, back to you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Tim. I appreciate you talking through that. I know this is your forte. It's your core competency. And if, like so many things that I'm talking about today, it's kind of like if you're not doing this, it's really a problem. It's not like, hey, this would be nice to do, or this is a nice to have. This is like driving your car without insurance. Why would you walk into the appointment without having this digital sales system in place? It would literally be foolish. And the tools are, number one, they're so easy to use, and number two, they're so affordable. The ROI on this stuff is it's ridiculous. So Tim, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next strategy, which is number 5, improving your sales coaching. Now, I'm going to just touch on this briefly. Not going to spend a lot of time here, but it is something that I want to bring up to you. Sales coaching versus sales training. And this is based on a good friend of mine in the industry, Chuck Toki. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with him and his organization. There's a lot of other very fine sales trainers in the industry. I'm kind of a Chuck Toki guy, and the reason is that they really focus on sales coaching more so than sales training. And in discussing with him, only about 10 to 20% of sales organizations are fully optimized. Most of the sales companies, probably you, employ sales training, which is good, which typically starts with memorization and repetition of a step selling system, like Tim just talked about. Step selling, I think we would all agree on today's call that is probably a smart thing to do. It's a good foundation. But then the next level is to take it to sales coaching, working within your existing sales system. So you hire a company like Top Rep to come in, and instead of saying, hey, you need a whole new step selling program, here's ours and it's unique to us, and you have to take whatever you're doing and throw it out and do this instead. It's saying, no, whatever you're doing, awesome. Continue to build that foundation, but now let's work with you to coach you to get better results. The goal is to get individual reps to higher levels of proficiency. It's kind of like the idea of wisdom. So on the lower level, you've got rules and formulas that you need to follow so that you can become proficient at something. It's like when I learned to drive. You're 15 years old, 16 years old, whatever. And, you got your hands at 10 and 2 and you're very, focused on the road, the radio's down because you have to pay super close attention. But then once you get a little bit more experience, then you've got, one hand here, you've got a big gulp and a hot dog and, the radio's blasting, all these kinds of things. There's a level of extra proficiency that comes with wisdom and with understanding. And that's what the coaching is trying to pull out of your team. Working on soft skills, not so much just the nuts and bolts. Again, not saying that the nuts and bolts aren't important. I'm saying that those are handled on the training side, and now we're going more into the coaching. The team becomes optimized without having to change the foundational system. So this is something that I would encourage you to look into. If you're working with an existing sales training organization, ask them about sales coaching. If you don't have somebody that fits that description, then you can look into something like Top Rep with Chuck Toki. So just take a look at that, okay? topreptraining.com. Let's move on to the next thing. Strategy number 6, using AI to improve your sales team's performance. Okay, this is something I know that most of you are familiar with at this point. You can't not do this, okay? You can't not do this. The virtual ride along, there's 2 companies that provide it. I'm an equal opportunity employer, so to speak. Rilla is one, Xero is the other. There may be others that are outside of this industry. In fact, I know there may be others in the industry. I'm not aware of them. Here's what we're talking about. It's an app that goes on your rep's phone. They push record before going into the home, and then it's going to record and analyze what the reps are saying and what they're doing. It's like a virtual ride along that's now going to aggregate that information across your whole sales team, and it's going to give you information about individual reps and the team as a whole in terms of what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, where they need to improve. And then the AI will actually aggregate data and clips to help them improve. So for instance, if you got a sales rep who is not good at offering financing, it will take clips from other reps who are good at offering financing, and it will deliver them a training module that they can listen to as they're driving from appointment to appointment. It's really, really cool. So example, if you got 5 reps, 12 appointments a week, that's 240 a month. Important. This is not so you can listen to all the appointments. The AI is going to analyze and make the suggestions. Not saying that you shouldn't do ride-alongs or listen to some of these calls, but the AI is going to really do the heavy lifting here, okay? So hallmarks of top salespeople, here's what average performers do. Sales meetings are 45 to 70 minutes, and the salesperson is talking 75 to 80% of the time. They're asking about 5 open-ended questions. Here's what top performers do. Their meetings are taking longer, 110 minutes. Why? because they're getting into more detail. They're talking only 45 to 65% of the time. Let's call it roughly half, which is allowing the homeowner to have more input. And they're asking an average of 25 open-ended questions. How do we know this? We know this because the AI is aggregating this data and telling this to us, and then we can train against it. You can also have it train against your step selling program. So it says, okay, you've got 10 steps, and it can identify which steps an individual rep is not performing well on. This is incredible software. It's also extremely inexpensive relative to the ROI of increased sales conversion. This is a no-brainer. If you're not doing this, again, I would just say that's pretty dumb. Okay. All right. So here's how it works. You input your important variables. Like I said, maybe you got 10-step sailing, whatever, specific steps, benchmark the top performers. It'll compare your weaker performers against them. And then, it's going to give you feedback. Conversion ratios typically go up 5 to 25%. Now, here's how I know this, because my customers, the people that I'm doing business with, we build websites, right? We're doing the SEO services, advertising services. They're telling me that when we've implemented Xero or Rilla Voice, that they're literally going up 5 to 25%. So here's what that means. Not 5%, like 17, what would we say, 30% to 31%, which would be 5%. No, from 30% to 35%. It's significant. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't have time. I would love to say more, but go check it out. You can look at Rilla Voice, or you can look at Xero, Siro. Just Google them. You will find them. Okay.
Hey, Rich, you mind if I mention something here? This is really one of the Rilla and Xero is really one of the big things that's come into our industry in the past few years. It really is. And many of you on the call probably are familiar with it. What we're excited about is putting together the whole package. Starting next month, those of you that do use Paradigm Vendo are going to find both Rilla and Xero integrated in it. So when you start a presentation in Paradigm Vendo, bang, it's just being recorded, and you got all that data right for you. So combining these technology tools really puts you in a powerful situation. So we're really excited about that. So thanks so much for sharing what the folks at Rilla and Xero are doing.
Yeah, I know everybody that the Washington Commanders just lost to the Eagles last weekend, but I'm going to encourage you to do this. Go look up this article. Their quarterback, his last name is Daniels. He got involved with an AI-based visual training system that allowed him to, as a rookie, to be incredibly good. Go just Google this, like Washington Commanders Daniel AI visual training. Read that story, it'll blow you away. And the home improvement version of that is what we're talking about here. Okay. It is amazing stuff. Financing. All right. Help your prospects buy using financing, first, middle, and last. I am the world's biggest financing proponent. I love financing because I know what it does. It makes you sell more for more money. Here's the myths. My customers don't need or want financing. I've heard that 1,000 times. It's false. It's not true. It's not true. Their customers are lying. They just don't know to ask for it. The truth is they're going to use it if it's available. We know this time and time again. It always turns out true that people will use financing if it's offered. 38% of homeowners said they would not have made their purchase without financing. That's going to vary from market to market and thing to thing, but you get the idea. Financing costs too much, people say. So I'm going to use it as a last ditch effort, a last ditch, what I call deal saver. It's like, okay, it's going to be $17,000, and the person puckers up. They're like, I don't want to do it. And then you say, well, what if it was only $400 a month? We can offer financing. But in their mind, they've already closed that loop and said, I don't want to do this. I'm going to think about it. And you come in and try to save the deal with financing. And look, it'll work sometimes, but you need to use it first, middle, and last. Okay. The truth is financing doesn't cost you anything. It's not. It's free because it's going to make you money. Okay. Average sale is going to go up. Average sale with no interest. This is based on a finance company's data. No interest if paid in full in 12 months offer. Average of sale with no interest if paid up in 36 months. Average sale with longer term, lower APR financing. You just see the dollars go up. Now, what they don't have is if there's no financing because they don't have that data. But just assume that it's going to be about $4,500 if there's no financing involved. So here's what we're seeing: massive increase. Now you adjust this with your numbers. If your average sale, is 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000, it's going to make incrementally a big difference. I cannot emphasize to you, this is something that if you have not embraced it, you need to look very, very carefully into it. I'm going to recommend a company called Upgrade. You can go look them up on Google. Upgrade remodeling financing. They've got great programs. Take a look. Okay. Let's run the numbers. If you've got no financing and the sale's 4,500 and it goes up to 7,466, that's about $3,000 more gross margin. Let's say it's 50%. Financing is going to cost you 6%. That's about $450. Increased gross margin is $1,000. That's pure creamy profit. You say, well, that's not true. What, it's going to cost me more than that. It's going to be a different number than that. Okay, fill out your own numbers. It doesn't matter. Here's the bottom line. It's going to make you more money. It's going to make you more money. And by the way, this is just the amount of sale going up, not even mentioning the fact that you're going to close more in the first place. Your conversion ratios are going to go up. Please, 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 please. Look very carefully into this. If you're not doing this, you need to do it. Okay. What if your numbers are higher, right? Here's how you offer it. Don't use it as a last ditch deal saver. Sell the payments just like the car companies do. Mr. Prospect, we offer several financing options to make this project affordable. How much money do you feel would fit comfortably into your monthly budget to make this happen? Give them prices in terms of monthly payments. You can always negotiate the length later if you need to, and just make more money. Okay. Here's when you use it: advertisements on your website, rehash, early in the sales meeting, later in the sales meeting, anytime your mouth is open, talk about financing and monthly payments. Okay. Again, go check out Upgrade. It's a great company you can take a look at. All right, let's go to strategy number 8. I just did a podcast with these folks yesterday. This is an amazing thing. Vacation vouchers. Okay. Here's what it does. It gives discounts on cruises with Royal Caribbean, all these 4 major cruise lines, also condo express vouchers, 100 plus countries, 4,500 resorts, and all of the vouchers come with a 16-page brochure. So you give it to your client, it's going to look amazing. But here's what you need to know. When you give these vacation vouchers out, first of all, it's going to increase their engagement level in the presentation, and it's going to increase your closing ratio. We've got stats over stats over stats that says this. The company that we recommend is Destination Motivation. They're one of our sponsors on the webinar today. Destination Motivation. They're going to contact your customers and they're going to hold their hand every step of the way. So this is not one of those things where they're like, hey, give out this vacation voucher and hopefully nobody ever use it. They're going to proactively make sure that your customers use it to get the value from it that they were hoping for. And they told me yesterday on a podcast, 75% of the homeowners that get these actually redeem them, which is astronomically high if you know anything about this type of a thing. Astronomically high. They want the customers to use it. Your customers are going to love you. So if you want to get an overview of this and get more detail, there's a QR code right there. Scan it. Here's what you're going to find out. Go to their website. It's called increaseoursales.com. You can see that right here on the lower left of your screen right now. And here's what you're going to see. Go over to the tab that says what our customers are saying. And here's what you're going to see. I think it was 36 out of the top 40 companies on the top 500 are using this product. Think about that for just a second. 36 out of 40. Maybe I got that number slightly wrong. Maybe it's 34 out of 40, whatever it is. It's a massively high number. And you're going to see those testimonials right there on there. This freaking works, and it works really, really well. You'll get more leads. You'll close more deals. You're going to eliminate cancellations. Let's talk about that for a minute. The amount that this reduces rescission is going to be anywhere from, probably on the low end, I'm making this number up because this is not what Jimmy told me yesterday, but I'm going to say probably 20 to 25%. But he was giving me case studies where it reduced rescission by 75% because people don't want to lose that vacation. And also, Destination Motivation is calling your customer after the sales meeting and talking them through the logistics of the trip. And they're looking specifically for any indication that perhaps they're having a little bit of second doubts and second thoughts about moving forward with the job. And if they detect that, they will actually contact you so you can go back to your customer and make sure that they don't cancel. It is amazing. It is amazing stuff. You're going to want to take a close look at this. Probably you're already using it, but if you're not, get with the program. Okay, so finally, brand ambassador program. This is number 9. This is after the sale. If you're not familiar with brand ambassador, they're going to meet with the customer after the job, give them a gift basket, look for any problems. They're going to upsell the customer. I don't want to go through what the brand ambassador's job is, but I do want to have this specific thing right here. They're getting online reviews, job photos, and customer photos literally there on the spot. They're going to be taking their picture. They're going to be taking a picture of the job that they just did, the bathroom that they just did, the roof that they just had installed. They're going to be handing them an iPad and saying, here, fill out your online review. And this is stuff that is going to be social proof that you can integrate into your advertising, onto your website, into your social media, into your pre-call text messages that we talked about earlier. This is social proof that is going to allow you to get more trust with your prospects, which is going to do what? What's the topic of the day? It's going to raise your conversion ratio. Okay. Now, also your brand ambassador can canvas the neighbors for more leads. That's great, but I'm most concerned about the thing that's on red in the screen here. Okay. Now, one of the things that's going to happen with your brand ambassador is they're going to get referrals. I'm going to recommend that you use Get the Referral. This is one of our sponsors today for the webinar. Get the Referral. This is an amazing, this also falls into that category, folks, of if you don't do this, I don't understand that. Why would you not do this? It makes no sense. It's an app on your phone, customized for you, that you can, it's an app that your customers download on their phone that's branded for your company. Okay, so it doesn't say Get the Referral. It says XYZ Remodeling, whatever your company is. And it's going to allow them to track the status of their job, connecting to your CRM, but also there's a place in there where they can give you referrals and they can earn money based on giving you those referrals. This is taking the industry by storm. I'm sure you've heard of this by now because all of the biggest companies and a lot of the smaller companies are using this. Look at what it says on the screen. Generating 11,000 referrals each month on this platform. And look what it says. Get the Referral clients have an average ROI of 100x. Now, I've also done an interview with Get the Referral on the Level 10 Contractor Daily podcast. If you want to go look that up, you can certainly learn more about that, or just go to getthereferral.com and learn more about this. It's an amazing program. Get the Referral. You can use the QR code right there and get more information as well. Okay, so quick review as we land the plane here. 3 things before the sales call. Identity into your marketing effort, handling your phone better, inbound and outbound, pre-sales call communications. We talked about text messaging during the sales call, step selling. We talked about Paradigm Vendo, how critical that is, digital selling process, improving your sales coaching, leveraging AI with the digital ride-along, so to speak. And then financing, big one, vacation vouchers, another. Guys, like every time I bring up a new thing on this webinar, it is a major, it feels like hyperbole, Tim. I was like, oh, this is important and this is important, but literally all of these things combined, if you do all of these together, it's going to have a massive impact on your business. That's where we get this, what I consider to be very low 20% increase, squeezing 20% more out of your existing leads. It's going to be higher, folks. Remember the dirty jobs thing that I showed at the beginning. It's a dirty job. Somebody has to do it. You need to assign somebody to go through this webinar, pick out every single element and just integrate these things. Of course, the last thing was the brand ambassador. Okay, so as we end up here, I think we're going to take some questions. Tim, I'm going to open it up to you also, but I want to put this on the screen as we're taking questions. If you want information on any of these companies, just use your QR reader and go to those companies and request more information. Again, with Level 10 Contractor, we'd be happy to do a website audit. Destination Motivation, they'll give you, all this information on their product. Tim, can they do if they go to the Paradigm Vendo, will it give them a demo, I think, or they can book a demo?
That's correct.
Yeah. So fill us out, scan it. And meanwhile, we'll take any questions for those who want to stick around for a minute.
All right, Rich, got a couple questions here. Just a couple comments. And if you have a question, go ahead and put it into the chat window and we'll do our best to take care of it. I got some questions here that already came in. I'll run by in a second. But just a couple of thoughts. You mentioned something important, and doing a flashback back to those metrics that I talked about early on, those conversion metrics. We talked about 11.2% of inquiries are turned into installed jobs. The impact that can be made on that 11.2% is crazy. When you think about the process, the conversion funnel process of inquiry to set appointments to issued leads to demoed leads and sold leads, if you do some quick math and just get 10% better at every one of those activities, which is totally achievable by doing some of the things we talked about here today, plus some other things, plenty of other things available, something interesting happens. I call it the compounding effects of micro gains. In other words, little small incremental gains in your processes. In that case, doesn't grow your business by 10%, grows your sales by over 62%. So it's kind of crazy what can happen here. Rich, when I first met you, you said something to me, and you didn't make this up. A gentleman by the name of Jim Rohn made this up. If you don't know who Jim Rohn is, he's a business philosopher, passed away a couple of years ago, like our friend Zig Ziglar. But he said something that you shared with me years ago, and I hadn't heard it before you shared it with me. He said this. He said, if you're in business or whatever you're doing, essentially, said three things. Have something good to say. What did he say next, Rich?
Say it well and say it often.
Yep, that's right.
What he really said was, it's not what you get, it's what you become. You
All right.
Jim Rohn. He's got such a great voice.
You're right. But when you think of it,
That's something good to say it well, say it often.
Yep, that little formula really makes sense. Just having something good to say goes hand in hand with the identity thing you talked about. Say it well, same thing. Say it often, everything you're doing marketing wise. So make sure you're fitting into that formula with your marketing. Okay, some questions. What's a good number? This question always comes up. What's a good number to shoot for as an all-in, emphasis on all-in, marketing cost percentage? Any thoughts on that, Rich?
50%. I'm kidding. The typical rule of thumb has always been 10%. I know the more fast growing companies tend to be more like 12 to 15%. And they will throttle it up even to 18 or 20 on occasion as they're trying new things or going into new markets. From a marketing standpoint, but 10%, I would say, would be a bare minimum. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I'll tell you what, though, every once in a while I run into a company who, when we ask them, how much do you spend on marketing? You can tell them getting very proud when they're about to answer that question. And then they say, we only spent 2% on marketing last year. Thinking
that tends to be the repeat and referral guys, and they tend to have been in business for 37 years, and they're stuck on $2.2 million.
That's correct. That's exactly who they are. So don't think it's a good thing to have that number drop down to the bottom. There's an optimum area that you should really be in. And
well, here's something to think about, Tim. What if you're spending 10% right now and you go, okay, 10%, that's kind of the industry rule of thumb. Great. What if you raised it to 13%? Now that's a lot of money, right? That represents like a 33% increase, and in raw dollars, depending on your sales volume, that could be a lot of money. But here's what you got to look at. In order to achieve that, the easiest way to do that is to not take it out of profits, just to raise your price by an equal amount that will cover the 3%. So here's what you got to think about. Which is harder or which is better? Or think about it this way. I don't know. Think about it however you want, but here's the questions. The question is it harder to have my salespeople close at a higher price, or is it harder to not have 3% more of my sales revenue into marketing? And I think it's easier to increase your salespeople's performance at a higher price. Think about how much money that is. If you're doing $1 million a month, you're $12 million business, and you're spending 10%, it's $100,000. Now you take an extra 3%, it's $30,000. Cut it in half. If you're a $5 million, $500,000 a month, $6 million company, that's $15,000 more dollars you could be spending to generate leads. What could you do with that? Nobody. It's amazing what you could do with that.
Well, it is. And that brings me to a thought that we did a webinar with our friend Scott Berman from Florida Window and Door here a month or two ago. And he had a little timeline of how he grew his business to over $100 million a year. And he had all these points where prices went up, prices went up, prices went up 15%, prices went up, prices went up. And he had a note under every one of those occasions, did not impact closing ratios every time he raised a price. So what's very interesting here is a lot of people are concerned that how can I grow my business? I don't have enough money to do that. Well, there's a good chance you don't have enough money to do that because you're not charging enough. And you might think, well, if I start charging more, my closing ratio is going to be impacted negatively. And Scott Berman and many others have proven that not to be the case. But consider this, do this exercise. Think of the companies that are selling the most units in your market area of what you sell. Think of who they are, you know who they are. And then ask yourself this question: what are their prices? How do they compare to us? In some cases, they're probably twice as high as you. In almost every case, they're the highest in the market, but they're selling the most. What does that tell you? It tells you they got some money to work with. They're able to do the things necessary to really grow their business. So that's a big lesson I think we all should learn and make sure we get our prices in order.
Well, and Tim, it's going to take a little bit of money to use something like Structurally, where now you've got this immediate text messaging, and to use Rilla, Voice, or Xero, to buy the vacation vouchers. This all costs a little bit of money, literally a little bit. But man, that would be a great place to start as you're increasing that budget a little bit, maybe from 10 to 11 or from 12 to 13 or whatever.
Absolutely, Rich. We're a little low on time here. I'm gonna run one more question here because this came in. I think people are curious. The vacation vouchers, destination motivation, great tools to help close sales, eliminate cancellations, all the things you mentioned. But I'm sure some people are concerned about, what are they going to cost me? You got any ideas on that? What do those things cost?
Yeah, I actually know exactly, because I had Jimmy Hammond from Destination Motivation on my podcast yesterday. So the most expensive they can possibly be, in other words, buying them in the lowest possible quantity, is a bundle of 10, and they're $249. Okay. Now, if you're a much larger company and you're buying hundreds or thousands of these a month, then it's obviously going to go down. And in some cases, if you're buying, a tremendous amount, it could go down quite a bit. But just for starters, it's going to be $249. You can run the numbers on that. I did it yesterday on that podcast. It's a no-brainer. It works. It's worth it. Because some people look at that and they go, well, I'm closing 30% anyway, so why would I, spend $750, which is $250 each times those 3 out of 10 that you closed? Why would I spend $750 to give those people vacations when they're just going to buy anyway? Because my closing ratio is historically 30%. The answer is, well, what if your closing ratio goes up now to 35 or 40%? And what if your people who you're giving these vacation vouchers to like you better, had a better experience? They're sitting on the freaking beach going, man, I love my window company. They gave me this vacation. Now you're starting to get referrals. Now you're getting repeat business. There's a reason that 36 out of 40 of the top 500 companies are using it. It's just, it works.
All right. Thanks for that. Well, listen, I think we better turn everybody loose. We're a little bit over time. Thanks so much for sticking around with us. Thank you, Rich, for presenting all this information. I think, how many words a minute you say you talk? We're at
185.
Okay. We're going to run that through the Xero and Rilla thing and see if you're accurate on that, and see if you got see how many words a minute you're talking, because I think they track that stuff too. How fast are you talking? How slow are you talking? All that kind of stuff. So listen, everybody, thanks for joining us. Hope you pulled a few things off the webinar that can help you impact your conversion rates for 2025. Watch your email. We'll have more webinars like this throughout the year, just to help bring the industry up to levels that it really can be. We're excited about 2025. Hope you guys are too. So take care, everybody, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.